Welcome to a new episode of Conversations on Congruency, and I am thrilled to have Danielle Sutton here. Danielle is founder of The Sedge, and she has been helping social entrepreneurs, purpose-driven entrepreneurs during 5 years by providing them with strategy, with the mindset and the community resources that they need to create thriving social businesses. And Danielle is here because we will be talking about connection. How can you connect with your community? How can you connect with the world as large? And what does it mean for your well-being? Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for having me. This is going to be a great chat. I'm excited.
Yes, thank you for being here. Hi, this is Tanya Gerard, your congruency coach, and my guest, Danielle Sutton here. She's founder of The Sedge, and she helps social businesses to thrive by coaching them. She's founder of The Sedge, and we're here to talk about connection with the world at large, with community. Danielle, thank you for being here. I have a first question that I'm sure a lot of people ask you. What is the difference between a business and a social business?
Yes, great question. And it's kind of fun to step back and dig into this starting point with you. So the biggest difference, when we say social, really it can encompass, I think there's a movement towards saying more impact because it's more encompassing. A social business, social entrepreneurship is really including that environmental piece as well and the human piece. So social is kind of a short word to describe this range of impact that we can have with our businesses. So what I mean by that is that a social entrepreneur or a social business is really in it for a different reason than money. And that reason is the impact, right? So it doesn't mean that we're excluding the financial sustainability or kind of the business model and the health of a business from the equation, but really that's secondary to the primary goal, which is around moving something forward, creating an impact, having a transition from the status quo that is not working for our world, for our people, for our communities, and creating a vehicle like a traditional business that can offer something valuable and help move people through to this better equilibrium, right? So to a healthier planet, healthier communities, healthier individuals, and so see, the well-being is stuck in my head, Tanya, because I'm already bringing that into the conversation, but it's true. Social business is around that positive momentum for what we create around us, because every business has an impact, but it's not necessarily a positive one, right? So when we're talking about social entrepreneurship, it really is using the economic tools available to us and the structures, of launching a project or a business in order to achieve those goals. And it's really about the people and the planet first.
I love this approach. And that's why I asked you to please be here today, because there's this conflict. Okay. And I guess that the general perception of giving is giving until you are depleted and there's no resources, and like you just give your time, your money, your energy. Or there's this other approach or conception of taking care of yourself as a selfish action, as just thinking of you, like me, I, mine, everything first. And I love social businesses, social entrepreneurship, because I find that that's the path to combine both. People who want to make an impact in the world, as you are saying, can also provide themselves with well-being in the shape of obviously purpose, connection, fulfillment, and financial stability, which is like in this planet, that's part of well-being, right? If we do not have a financial security, we can't feel safe, pretty much. So I love that you help people to actually achieve that project and to, as you say, create this connection with the world, with the environment, with the people in the world, with causes and issues that usually activists take and make them like they love that purpose so much that they want to actually make a living from it, right?
Exactly. And you really hit on the head when you mentioned this separation traditionally in how we think about the sectors, the philanthropy sector or the activism, the charitable sector where we have nonprofits and NGOs. And there's huge value in that, of course. But we often in the past have thought of that as very separate from the business sector, where the companies are there to make money, deliver shareholder value, which means make money, make money, grow. And it's tough because as human beings, we need both. We need that financial sustainability, not just for ourselves, but for the actual impact to be more sustainable itself, right? So the big issue in the charitable sector is that there is a decrease in funding available for these amazing organizations. And so why are we separating these two things so much when it doesn't need to be an either or, right? Mm-hmm. Even as an individual choosing which sector do you want to dedicate your working time to, which is a huge chunk of your life. Yes. And we're forced to make that decision. And what's amazing about social entrepreneurship is that there's this movement that we can do both. We just have to get a little more creative, but that's really fun too. And there's increasingly more and more examples and models and strategies and thinking around how can we create that positive impact in a financially sustainable way. And not only is it wonderful for the initiatives and the causes themselves, but for us who choose that line of work, it's very meaningful and impactful.
Yes. Well, as a congruency coach, I help my clients to find that alignment, to create sustainable well-being by embracing who they are and making confident decisions that create those paths from them. So I feel that deciding on starting a social entrepreneurship is, I want to say, innovative, not because it's happening just, from 1 year on. I know this has been going on for a while, but I do feel that it is like this other option that is outside of the script, right? Like traditionally, and there's also a gender part here. It's like traditionally women create well-being and men create money, and we have two different set of activities and ways to relate to the outside world. And just being responsible as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as employees, people who work in these businesses, as consumers, it's like we can really get it all, and that's the whole point of well-being, right? I want to ask you, in your experience as a social entrepreneur, because your work is also has also impact in this general well-being, and so in your experience as a social entrepreneur helping social entrepreneurs.
Yes, very meta, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
So how does this relate to the connection we have with ourselves?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm being clear with my question. It's like this work comes from within, right?
Yes.
But that within needs to be channeled and named and somehow structured also, because that's part of what you do. Actually, you help them to find the strategies and the structure to make it sustainable. I have always been a believer in sustainability. Like there's no point on investing energy in something that's ephemeral. We need to create sustainable well-being that will be there even when we stop the project, even when we end the project. So back to my question, where does this connection, or how does this connection happen? And what's your experience observing it and facilitating it?
Yeah, such a good question. So I think first and foremost, it really is work that comes from a deep place within. And I think if you ask anyone who has a passion for a cause or creating change, no matter what the vehicle is, because social business is just one vehicle. Activism is a great vehicle. Charitable sector is a great vehicle. Like we need, academia researching new ways. All of these things are important. Philanthropy. So, but this channel, so any of those people who are on that path of creating change, it's a very human thing to want to use your skills and your knowledge and your experience to help other people. I feel like no matter who you talk to, there's some piece there. It's a human thing. And if it's such a drive in you that you want to pour your life's work into one of those channels, it really does come from, like I said, your personal experience thus far. So a lot of people who are passionate about certain causes have some connection already to why that's important to them, right? It could be their personal lived experience. It could be someone that they met in their travels and had an impact on them with their story, and they really felt some empathy towards that situation. Or it could be a family member, or it comes from a very deep place. And I think that's where the connection can shine through. And like you said, the social business is the strategies, or putting that structure there for the sustainability piece is so important, but it's a means to an end. It's not the end itself, right? The end itself is, I think it's about expression and meaningful work and feeling like you're contributing to something bigger. So I think that's where the connection piece comes in. And it would be interesting to study more or dig in more to kind of the psychology around why we as human beings feel such a drive to do that. I actually don't know kind of the background of that. That would be something neat for you to look into. That's definitely more your area than mine. Project, yeah. Because it connects really deeply to well-being, in that it's like a piece of us that we need to acknowledge. And I think that's why it's interesting to think about how the sectors have evolved, and how, like, traditionally you would go get a really good job and a portion of your money you could donate to charity, right? So we've always been doing it, but this is just a new way. And I feel like it's a more aligned way. It's a more direct path to expressing that need to contribute. So I think that's where the connection comes in. But it's a fascinating conversation to talk about that piece of it, and usually, and for me, I'm often in kind of the next phase of somebody who's very excited to put something into action, and we figure out how to do that. But your piece and the well-being and the personal side is definitely, that's the root of it all. That's people's why.
Yeah. Well, coming back to your words, I feel this need to make a change, this need to impact, has to do with well-being building blocks, that such as hope, such as courage, such as transcendence. Like, I feel it's part of human nature, and actually it's on Maslow's pyramid, right? To transcend, like to leave a legacy after you're gone. And that's just part of human nature. That's why we have drawings in caves. Like we want to
something from ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. And I also, I'm just, like speculating here, but so I was born in the 70s. I'm totally Gen X. And I witnessed the first, like Marshall McLuhan saying, global thinking, like act locally, think globally, that postmodern philosophy of impact. And I've seen how the internet, how the social media, how the news make it possible now. Because when I was in college, people used to, they traveled to any country in Africa and stayed there for 2 years, and then they would come back and tell you their experience. Or they would travel to small towns in Mexico and they will stay there, and now people are kind of doing it somehow remotely, because it is possible to do it too. So I feel that we can talk, like us talking about social businesses has also a circumstantial element. Like, it is possible to do it now. It is possible to consider it now. And that's part of what I wanted to invite you here, because I want to share that message. It is possible. It is an option. What would you tell somebody I'll describe a person that I have met, because I have actually spoke to this person. So he has a lot of experience in, software, and he has worked for corporations for a long time. And then one day he decided he just couldn't do it anymore, because he was just making more money for rich people. He was creating wealth for the wealthy. He used to contribute to activist causes, but that was it. So it started with a personal situation. He just couldn't do it anymore. What would you say somebody like him, or like many other women and men that I've met that have an amazing set of skills, but they don't find satisfaction they're not finding satisfaction in traditional businesses or traditional work. They don't find satisfaction in activism, and they're toying and considering the idea of a social entrepreneurship. What would you tell them? Where can they begin?
Yes, good question. So I think it all needs to begin from your lived experience, because there's no point to try and jump into a totally different area that you have no background in, no context in, no experience in, no skills, history. That is a wealth, no matter what industry you've been working in. And there's very creative ways to apply that to a more purpose-driven goal, right? So I would say, first, don't feel like you need to discount your career so far, because that is valuable. It's worth a lot. And I have seen some people who might be in that position, but feel like, well, I need to just throw everything out the window and like go way over there, or I need to move to Africa and do some work. Like, that's not really the way you can have the biggest impact, right? There are people with all of this diversity of history and experience that each have a role to play in moving things forward. So I would say, first, take stock of this great wealth of experience that you already have. The next piece would be to look at where you do feel passion. So there might be a connection there, and it's kind of a Venn diagram, right? So it might be more overlapped for some people than others. But I think if you think of your skills and experience, your lived experience, and then the passion, like the causes or the things that really get under your skin, and you think, why is it like this? Like, I think there's a better way. I think we need to improve this situation. Whether that's the environment or a specific social cause, or it could be small, it could be, whatever speaks to you. That also can't be forced. I think that's just a part of who you are. And so really the challenge then becomes finding the overlap in the Venn diagram on those two things, because there's usually somewhere that you can creatively fit it together. And the third piece that's really important to think about is that need. So the cause you might be passionate about doesn't necessarily mean that you know what that that movement needs, right? So I think that's where kind of the entrepreneurial thinking really comes in that you want to bridge or connect what you have to offer with what people need. And if you're wanting to create this like amazing solution or innovation, and it's not actually solving the root of something, and it's not necessarily an innovation that your potential customers would be looking for or benefit from or be excited about, then it's not helpful, right? Like then you're just creating a widget that has no purpose. So those are the three pieces. And I think as a social entrepreneur, you really need to think about all of those, kind of hold them in your head. And I have a few exercises and things that I take people through to discover where that overlap might be. And that's where you want to be the most impactful. You're bringing the highest contribution that you personally, as the one in how many billion people, have to give. And if you can find that, you'll be in great alignment. You'll be in connection with kind of your soul, with your community, with the people you want to work with. And that's where it can be very powerful.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm thinking, as you say, you have the most impact when you are aligned, when you're clear, when you are well, when you are leveling your own experience, your own knowledge assets. And that makes so much sense because that's how well-being works in general. Like, level up your experience, learn from your decisions, understand what you're needing. I love that part. You need to, like a social entrepreneur needs market research. And as a person, as an individual, in order to find what you need to research. You need to connect with yourself and see what's going on inside. So there's this parallel of working from within to impact the world around us. Thank you so much for this. I hope this is helpful for some viewers. Maybe you will get news from some people that are deciding to go and start their social business now. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, really. We have known each other for a long time now. I love your work. I find you very wise and calmly, and I know that your clients are always very happy with your work. So thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge with us here in Conversations on Congruency.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me. It was a really great piece to speak about, for sure.
Thank you so much. So I will be posting in the description your webpage address. If people want to contact you, where can they contact you?
Yes, you can check out the website, www.thesedge.org, or you can email me, Danielle@thesedge.org. Happy to hear from you. I also write a lot on these topics with plusacumen.org, which is a wonderful organization with lots of free resources for people interested in social change. And so that's another place to look as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being part of Conversations on Congruency and help me explore connection as part of a way to create sustainable well-being. Thank you for watching, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.